So just how long have you been in like the fighting game scene?
The 90s.
Oh, good answer. Good answer.
Welcome to Behind the Music City fighting game community player spotlight. Today I have with me Solitaire. Solitaire is one of our more seasoned veterans when it comes to fighting games and Street Fighter in general. Solitaire, how are you feeling today, man?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, man. So just how long have you been in like the fighting game scene?
The 90s. I think my first fighting game was Super Turbo.
Okay.
But I didn't know the game. It was just M. Bison psycho crushing across the screen. I think my first competitive game was Alpha 1.
Really?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's so crazy to me, like, because I came into like the fighting game scene like back in like Dragon Ball Fighters. How has like the fighting game scene really changed in the last, like, I would say, since you started to now?
I think the biggest thing that I noticed the change is how people play the games. I think from what I experienced playing in Alpha and early on, at least in the scene that I was in, it was very restrictive, where there was a lot of, well, that's cheap, we don't do that. Like you were frowned upon for winning by chip damage or throwing too much, and it really kind of restricted how good people could get. And I didn't see that really kind of open up. I moved to Los Angeles in the late 90s. It's just kind of a whim, stupid kid decision. And that's where like there was a big heavy scene in kind of like the UCLA Westwood area. That was the first real big change that I saw, where it was like you play to win, you do what you got to do to win.
Right.
And throwing didn't matter, and I kind of left those people behind because they were just like they couldn't catch up. So it was just like the restrictive kind of like samurai-esque rules about combat. I think the next big change was kind of when online hit. I can't remember if CVS2 was online or not. But I think that was the first one where it kind of really changed and really opened up. And of course, Street Fighter 4 was like the huge renaissance of really just getting all kinds of walks of life into playing. And that's where you started seeing like really like diverse kind of play styles and all that stuff. Yeah.
Are you just a Street Fighter player, or do you have any other fighting games that are kind of like your secret baby that you go back to?
I think the first one I really enjoyed playing competitively was Killer Instinct 1.
Oh, dude.
So people talk about, I don't know anything about the new one. So I tried to play it and it looks fun and I'd love to learn it. But KI and KI1 or KI2 were a lot of the games that we would travel as a group. The lame story of, we worked at a putt-putt golf. And that's where the arcade was. Right. And this is, arcades were still a thing. So we would travel, and this is in Ohio, Columbus area. There was like 5 or 6 arcades we would travel to, and we had our black putt-putt golf work shirts and these do-rags, and we called ourselves the Putt-Putt Posse. And we would travel, and those are I don't even remember a lot of people competitively like doing these travels, other than like very early Street Fighter 3. When I'm talking Third Strike, I'm talking Street Fighter 3. When that first came out, and that was kind of like the end of the arcade era for me. Right. But a lot of the stuff that we were playing that was a lot of KI, and I was starting, and I was terrible at it, though, starting to get into like MK2 and MK3, where MK2 was kind of sunsetting and MK3 was coming in, and I picked up Shiva and just up down all day with a stomp.
That's dude. My first time ever touching a fighting game was MK2 in a skating rink on a cabinet, man. So that's really cool to hear that, for sure.
We played NBA Jam for money too.
Oh yeah. From me and Tito talking, he's told me that you were present for the legendary moment where Daigo versus Justin Wong for Evo Moment 37. How was the energy in the room?
That was crazy. Like it was weird. I remember it specifically because we were just outside of that room was like a food court area, and we were just outside the food court eating before we went back in. And I didn't make it any further. Like I remember, I keep looking at the video when I see it, and if you look in the background, there's like just the double doors where you enter, and I'm like, I know I'm standing back there because I wasn't up close. I was like in the doorway watching it, just kind of like, oh crap, like that, and it was just crazy just how loud it was, because that was just ridiculous.
About when, because you and Tito, very close relatives, when did you start kind of trying to pass your knowledge on to Tito in your fighting game journey?
I lived with him for a while, so I think around Street Fighter 4, once Street Fighter 4 came out and it became like a big online scene, I played a lot at the house, and Thomas Tito showed a lot of interest in the game. I wasn't sure if he was like super serious or not, and he just kept playing, he just kept watching and kept trying to pick up what I was doing, and it was good because at the time it was like really kind of reminiscing on like the old times at that point. Like it was a million years ago and it was still the old times of being able to go out and be competitive and having that group of people to play with. And like part of me was like, I'd like him to kind of experience that. Like, I don't know. At that point, I was like, I don't know how. It was like arcades are dead and it's just online. But I'm glad like scenes like this are still around and exist. Sure. And this is pretty much a godsend for the area. But I think he really showed interest in, I think it was Headbutt into Ultra. And like his obsession with landing Headbutt into Ultra and not understanding like the up back mechanic of still maintaining the charge for the Super or the Ultra.
Right.
And once he got that down, it was kind of when I noticed like he really wants to learn and wants to play. And that's when it's like, okay, well, you're going to go into drilling where it's going to be like the unfun thing of landing a combo 10 times on one side and then landing that combo 10 times on the other side and sort of starting over if you miss. But yeah, they generally showed interest in like a lot of the games that I was playing, but Thomas really wanted to pick up and get good at it from what I saw.
For sure, man. And I mean, he's like super good.
Well surpassed me. So.
How does that feel? Is there like a, I guess, kind of sense of pride, I guess?
Well, definitely, especially as a family member. So it's like it's like you're passing it along. Like part of you is carried through someone else.
For sure.
And it's good to see, like, especially when you think, like, for a long time before 4 came out, like fighting games were kind of dead. So it's good to see someone pick up something that like you weren't sure that it's going to get carried on.
Right.
So I really loved seeing him being competitive and being where he's at now, and even like just not even just the fighting itself, but just like fostering the community, like really keeping things alive.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. So let's talk Street Fighter 6 because you and Tito both play JP. We have a couple things to say. He got nerfed. Enough of a nerf. Anyway. What really made you want to gravitate towards JP? Because I know you're playing Manon before, correct?
Yeah, I tend to start picking my characters on their style. I think hope maybe a lot of people do it, or they're looking for what's good. I really liked Manon at first, but then I got tired of kind of the fishing gameplay that she has to. It's just the struggle,
right?
And I don't usually gravitate toward top tier characters. It's just whoever I find fun. But I remember specifically, every time I would go, I don't know how to stop X with Manon, or I don't know how to stop Y with Manon, and I would just complain about it to Thomas, and he would just go, the answer would be play JP.
Of course.
Because he's always trying to get people, he's always trying to conscript people into playing JP.
Yep.
And I just say, I brush it off, like I'm not gonna play JP. Like he looked weird play style to me from observing, but to be fair, a lot of the characters look weird to me. Like I've just started playing a little bit of Marissa, and I played her at first, and I'm like, nah, but I'm having fun with her. But as far as JP goes, like at some point I'm like, I want a pocket character. I don't want to just be just Manon. So I want someone else to play just to shake things up. And it was just fun. It was just fun to play.
For sure.
So I just kept with him, and just Manon got left behind.
Right.
I mean, I do play her occasionally, but he's just a different style for Street Fighter. I know people say that like he's not a Street Fighter, like he's more like an anime. He doesn't feel that different to me. He's just he's not as much of a zoner as everyone makes him out to be. He definitely has strong zoning skills, but he definitely has good mid-range. My brain gets a little smooth sometimes when I'm trying to run the routes.
Right.
But he definitely has some aggressive stuff that really appeals to me. Outside of Pierce.
For sure, man. Dude, I know you're kind of one of my rivals here. We always meet up in brackets somehow. I don't know how. It's probably going to happen tonight. But, hey, man, it's always a blast playing.
Yeah, I enjoy playing it. I do.
One final question for you, man. So, new players coming into the arcade for the first time, first local that they're going to, what would you say the do's and don'ts for a new person coming into a fighting game scene would be?
Do's and don'ts. Don't worry about losing. You're going to lose. I think that's the primary one, because I see it a lot of times on like the Discord or online where it's like, I don't want to go out there to just 0-2. I just embrace the 0-2. Have fun. Do have fun.
Right.
Like, it's fun to win, but just enjoy it. I mean, I know this is tough to say because I do get frustrated with progress and all, but I think for new players, it's do play who you find fun. Do not worry about who's good or who's bad. Just play who you enjoy, and don't worry about losing. Everyone's going to lose. You're going to take many L's, and that's like the huge barrier for a lot of players is just accepting the L's. Just embrace them.
Great send-off, Solitaire. Thanks so much again.
Thanks for having me.
For being here. Guys, y'all be safe out there. This was Music City, Finding Game Community, Player Spotlight. We'll catch y'all next time.
Congrats, you made it to the end of the video. While you're here, why not check out the other links to my socials?